processes. So I think there's something that happens when you start talking about different, and there's a fear factor that goes in, and the naysayers are very quick to say, oh, no, it won't happen, it's not possible, it can't be done. If I had $1 or even £1 for every person who said Canary Wharf could not be done, it will not happen, or the Gherkin, it won't happen. And which leads me to my second point. Something very interesting happens when you have an idea. The first idea, the first creative process, the first vision is so frightening that everybody wants to say it's not going to happen. Of course, until it happens, and then everybody says, oh, I knew it would happen. Yes, it was my idea originally. I was supporting it all the way. And we've all had people, pontificate how terrible something's going to be until it happens, and then they're the first people telling you that it was their idea. But I would like to talk about something that's a little bit nebulous, a little bit interesting that happens. And when there is a great idea, and we've seen it really on this project over the past 4 or 5 years about the concept of what is the potential for what could happen in West 12. And that is, something has to hold the space. And I don't mean hold the space physically, I mean hold the space energetically until the project becomes real. And it is a process of a group of visionary people who believe it's possible, carry the banner, talk about it like it's already happened, and know that it's possible. And I think if you look back to every great project, if there weren't those people, it wouldn't happen. So yes, it's stamina, but before you can have the stamina to carry the physical ball, there has to be a space held. And I think what we have been doing, and what today represents really, is we are holding a space for something amazingly great to happen in West 12. Not just on the BBC land, not just on this piece of land or another piece of land, but we're holding a space so that this area becomes so amazingly great that the White City housing, which has not been the most successful housing project in the UK, might have the possibility to regenerate. That maybe the schools in this area will help teach young people about creativity in a different way. And maybe there will be a world-class performance center in the center of this area that is used by all of the creative types here. So it's not just, we could talk about it in a little way, but what we're doing by today and by what we've done over the past several years is we're holding a space for the potential of something amazingly great to happen here.
Yes, it's melancholy, isn't it, that the people who are the naysayers come around eventually to saying it's okay. So that's.
But I knew it was my idea.
That's creative, you see.
You've done it.
Creative is the truth. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, panel. What about the biggest opportunity for the BBC and Imperial College on this site? Despina.
I think there are 3 aspects to it, and they pretty much form the same thing. The first would be, I think, that they need to embrace complexity. And by that I mean blurring functional boundaries, reinventing both the old and new of everything that happens on the site. The second would be to create and put in place a process that measures the value of place and the quality of the experience. And I think this issue of quality of experience is fundamental to the success of this, because it needs to be that destination. And the third, which is probably the most difficult one, but I think the greatest opportunity and potential inhibitor to success, is to challenge the supply chain through comprehensive partnering.
So
and
by the supply chain you mean?
I mean the whole production of any kind of development, any kind of building as we know it. I think this needs joined up thinking, partnering between policy, planning, funding, community and the end users in a way that hasn't happened before in this country.
Yes.
And it can't be a piecemeal debate that simply deals with separate stakeholders' interests. It needs to have that comprehensive partnering. And the partnering needs to have that vision of creating a dynamically integrated destination that will be about creative outcomes for the future of London. It's not just about the BBC, it is a much bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, to do that and to question the supply chain, I think would liberate all sorts of energy everywhere.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I think it would set, it goes back to, this is why I started with, I think, Caroline's goal this morning of creating a global symbol for creative regeneration is a tremendous goal to have, but you cannot deliver it unless you redefine
Yes.
the way that you provide development and the way you actually achieve projects like this.
And if you don't change the supply chain, you simply replicate mistakes of the past, which are even bigger mistakes potentially in the future.
Absolutely.
Danny, what's your
well, I think it's
big opportunity for the BBC?
Yeah, it's essential to kind of challenge the supply chain. Otherwise, you are building a kind of 20th century model in the 21st. So I think that's really essential. So the engagement of Imperial really should be seen as a kind of new marketplace, certainly for the production community and where they can sell into. I think it is much more than just about the BBC, and I'm going to go back to when we work with market maker companies, when they look at where they should locate, because the same 15 cities around the world are all speaking to the same companies. Usually they say to us three things. One is, are you world class at something specific? Second thing they want to know is there a deep pool of talent that really that fits strategically with their business? And London clearly has that already. And then the third thing that they really look for is they must have access to R&D talent. And that R&D talent is usually in deep research found in academic institutions that kind of fits with their more commercial kind of development and deployment research as a commercial entity. So again, by having those three elements in place on the site, it should be able to develop this site quicker and with a kind of wider diversity of organisations on site.
So the way in which the project is conducted, the process, could release enormous energy were it handled properly.
Yeah, I think real energy and kind of real pace, and if it can be developed at pace in this agile way, not waiting for the perfect day, something really special can be created here, I think.
Carla, would you go along with that argument? The changing the process?
I think it's a long-term project. Oh, sorry. I think it's a long-term a regeneration of an area of a city doesn't happen overnight. So I think my hope for this project is that the BBC partners with some visionary person who has the same kind of vision that they do and understands that a lot of things need to be questioned. I think some of the most successful projects historically are projects where the rules are questioned all the time. And I've been really fortunate because as an American, I got to ask the stupid questions that most of my consultants were humiliated at when I asked them, like, well, why can't that be done? And everyone goes, she asked that question. And I do think that this project needs a lot of that, really shaking it up. And I think that in the process of doing that, parts of this area will begin to change, and as those areas change, other parts will change. And so I see this as a good 15 to 20 year